Once upon a time, our three heroes were reunited on a quest to search for Celius, the mysteriously vanished prince.
Hello and welcome to Rock Paper Shotgun and a very quick look at Trine 4. It has to be a quick look as we've only got about 7 minutes of footage. Having said that, I'd rather the team at Frozenbyte was focusing on making more game than making more clips, especially after Trine 3, a game that felt very unfinished. It infamously ended just as it was getting started. Why? Well, that game shifted Trine's classic puzzle platforming into 3D, and the extra work that made caused budgets to swell and level counts to decrease. It arrived in truncated form, upset the fans, and, well, felt like the last we'd ever see of our trio of heroes, Amadeus, Zoya and Pontius. But here they are, back in the virtual flesh and attempting to make up for that undercooked third outing. This is Trine 4 The Nightmare Prince, and I'm going to explain the ways it is getting the series back on track.
The shame about the house. This must have been a snug little place back in the day.
Obviously, we're back in 2.5D again, with those budget-guzzling 3D stages dropped for what Trine always did best. I say 2.5D, and what that actually means is 3D characters on a 2D plane in a 3D world. Although you can't venture into the backgrounds and prod around in their details, you still have those rich 3D worlds to drink in. I always thought Trine was a series that punched above its weight visually, filling your eyes with so much fantasy minutiae that it never really registered that it was all out of reach. Even though you can't step into the background, they have a real sense of place and presence. Maybe it's down to the lighting and particle effects which bathe the foreground from behind, tying the locations into a satisfying whole. Both are improved here with a new version of Frozenbyte's in-house engine. I also really like Trine's general approach to fantasy and fairy tales, taking inspiration from quite crusty cliches, but giving them a spark of life with that attention to detail. In the demo I was shown the Cursed Manor, a classic haunted house, but filled with murky depths that show off that new lighting system. And there's also Badger Borough, which is a vast network of twee underground homes, very Wind in the Willows. Of course, in Wind in the Willows, poor Badger wasn't plagued by an army of demonic hedgehogs. Trine 4's story revolves around the eponymous Nightmare Prince, who brings everyone's nocturnal terrors to life, and my personal ones just involve me taking my A-level exams again, which probably wouldn't make for a good Trine level. Anyway, hot on the heels of the Nightmare Prince are Trine's returning trio of heroes, Pontius the Knight, Amadeus the Wizard, and Zoya the Thief. They are the heroes you've come to expect, though each gets a few extra toys. Pontius puts combat first with his sword and shield, though his shield now has reflective properties, allowing for some light beam puzzles, and the ability to return poison projectiles to sender. He also has a downward smash that lets him turn seesaws into makeshift catapults. As a fellow heavy-set man, I can confirm this is why I was banned from the local kids' playground. Zoya is still the platforming superstar with rope arrows used for makeshift tightropes, a skill that was in Trine 3 but never got the workout it deserved due to that game's limited level selection. More usefully, she gets frozen arrows that lock objects or platforms in place. Considering that a big part of Trine's co-op challenge is the burden of getting multiple heroes through the levels, when you play alone you only have one body to worry about, the ability to create stairs and platforms with frozen objects should come in useful. Finally, there's Amadeus, and we didn't spot many new powers for the wizard. He's still all about summoning boxes and levitating them, although he can make metal spheres, which characters can scamper on top of to travel across spiky floors. Hopefully he has some more interesting powers to pull out of that hat of his. I should add that these are just their core abilities, unlocked as part of story progression. There are also skill upgrades purchased with the purple experience vials you'll see throughout these clips. These have more of a combat focus, like letting Zoya do a combat dodge followed with a critical hit arrow attack, for example, or letting Amadeus throw objects vertically for a helpful upwards attack. Alas, none of this is shown in the footage, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Would I lie to you, dear viewer? Moving swiftly on. Throughout our demo, Frozenbyte are keen to reinforce that puzzles are really at the heart of the game. It's telling that we are only given a tiny bit of combat footage. A general aim is to make puzzles a bit more balanced than before. Because Trine relies on physics for many of its solutions, it was possible to game many of the challenges in older games. For one, you could often just summon a big pile of Amadeus magic boxes, something they hope to avoid this time round. Part of this will fall to new puzzle mechanics that we're not shown, but Frozenbyte say they are playing with electricity, fluids, magnets, and magical portals, all elements that will require you to engage with new items in new ways, not just build a box mountain. They are also bringing puzzle elements into boss fights, so that these end-of-level clashes test everything from combat skills to platforming and mental dexterity. We're shown this ghostly knight encounter where dodging his projectiles allows you to break parts of the scenery, revealing beams of light that stun him. Later in the fight, you have to use the reflective shield to remove corrupted webbing and uncover even more beams of light to further stun him. It's that classic use the skill you've just learned to kill the boss design that you've seen in Zelda 100 times before, but if it works, it works. I'm also interested to see the revamped take on general combat, which is less focused on simple hack and slash, although there's plenty of both, and will instead lock you in nightmare areas that you can't escape until you've won. Frozenbyte thinks this adds a tactical edge, as you have to use enemy and platform positions to survive the wave of monsters that appear. Talk of elemental spiders that have to be hit with opposite attacks suggests the lightest of puzzling, but we don't have any footage of it and only saw one simple fight, so only time will tell if they actually deliver on this. I mean, does anyone really play Trine for the combat? I'm not so sure. One of the more interesting ideas that we do see in Trine 4 is a new adaptive puzzle design for single and co-op players. Level layouts physically change based on whether you play alone or with friends, solving one of the big problems with the series, that every puzzle has to be designed to be beaten by just one person. The idea is to make sure that groups are actually pushed this time. It's actually quite subtle in motion. I take this screen. When you approach it with one player, there is a ring on the opposite wall for Zoya to attach a tightrope to and trot across the gap. When you return with two people, there is no ring and there is a new platform, encouraging an Amadeus player to plant a magical crate, which can then be used as the grapple point by Zoya. It's really not rocket science. And this puzzle removes the grapple point in the middle of the room, forcing two people to work together to hold up the platforms, but it also adds a sliding door to the room up above, adding a further wrinkle. The problem with this particular example is that Zoya pretty much solves the harder room all by herself, making me wonder if the characters are just too powerful or versatile to actually hold them back. I wonder if people will try solo runs of the co-op designs, if such a thing is possible. Of course, this is entirely optional. If multiple players drop into a solo session, you'll have the choice to return to a checkpoint to restart the stage in co-op mode, or carry on in the single player version. Definitely a neat idea on paper, but we'd have to play the final version to see if the puzzle difficulty actually makes it worthwhile. This footage doesn't quite convince me at the moment. Otherwise, Trine 4 is much what you'd hope for, as long as you weren't a mega fan of Trine 3. Frozenbyte says story will be handled in a more present way, with NPCs appearing throughout the levels, and more banter between our heroes and enemies to further the tale. There's also the option to finally play the game with 4 players instead of the traditional 3. This is due to a new mode that lets you play with any combination of characters. If 4 people all want to play as Amadeus and start chucking magical crates around, they can go right ahead. I do wonder if there'll be a 4th playable character hidden in the game. I mean, the Nightmare Prince himself would be an obvious candidate, but we'll have to wait and see. Perhaps the most important point is that Frozenbyte are promising the longest Trine adventure yet, a point that will clearly resonate after 3's blink and you'll miss it runtime. It's almost as if they're rolling back the clock to Trine 2 and continuing as if 3 didn't happen, which, given the affection for the first 2 games, is probably the right thing to do. I have a lot of happy memories of tackling Trine 2 in co-op, and less happy memories of getting a dead arm when I drop my partner into various pits. I look forward to bruising my arm afresh in this one when it arrives in autumn this year. Anyway, hopefully that's given you an idea of what to expect from Trine 4 and why it's shaping into a return to form. Apologies for having to reuse such limited B-roll. We hope to get proper access to the game soon, so we can take a more leisurely look at what it has to offer. If you have any questions about the game, pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And while you're here, why not subscribe to Rock Paper Shotgun for more access to the latest PC games and some other nonsense on the side, a selection of which is popping up on screen now. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you again soon. Bye for now!